Hey, I'm Dr. Ruth Roberts, your pet's ally. I hope that you are all doing well today. Um, so let me hop over to the group page so we can take a look at that. Again, we've got this guide to pet diarrhea. I'm going to do a live broadcast with Angela Ardolino today at 5 o'clock Eastern. And I'm certain this link will go to the replay if, excuse me, if you haven't. Um, if you don't get a chance to get there today. So, hey Susan, how are you? So Pam was asking about spirit losing weight on the elimination diet, and and I think best estimate is if you're picking him up and looking at the weight on the scale and then setting back down, that's perfectly reasonable. Um, so it's interesting your comments here. Um, that you had packaged everything out at 7 ounces because of adding the oil, and what you hadn't realized is how much he was getting at the table, and it's really astonishing, kind of when you have to really break it down into pieces and pieces. So I think there's a couple of things you can do here, May. One is you can't use any grains, but I think there were several um, beans that you could use, and yeah, and so you could use either of those to increase the calories. You could make some more, just make some homemade dried treats of the protein. You can do a couple of different things. You could do, take the protein as far as the go and dry it, but sort of puree it and mix it with a little extra fat, so you get a bit more of a calorie boost. See if that helps. And then, really, I think if he's starving, I think beans are probably going to be the things that you could add in that would give him extra calories pretty simply. You can mix some additional fat in with that. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying is go ahead and cook some extra beans or get an extra can of beans and um, add a couple of tablespoons per meal, actually. Because I think from what you're describing, if he's dropping weight that quickly, you're going to need to add another probably 120, maybe 200 calories per day to keep him from losing additional weight. So that's what I'm trying to do, is think of things that you can do without having to reformulate these batches. So again, easiest things, yeah, or just get cans of them, make it simple. And then when you get ready to go through the next set of batches, then you can bump up the volume and the calories. Yep, exactly. That's why I would get cans of beans, because each batch got different beans, as you say. So get canned version of them. Is it optimal? No, but it makes it easy, and this way you can kind of live with what you've got in front of you. Does that make sense? So, mix of additional oil per meal and or beans to help bump your calories up. But that way, I think you'll see his weight start to at least stabilize and then hopefully bump up a little bit. And Ohio is so barky today because there were lots of weddings and fireworks over the weekend, and it was just scary. So I hope that makes sense. Um, and Jamie, good to see you too. Let's see, what else do we have here? And Mr. Bear eating weird stuff again. I mean, and Bettina, this is just astonishing. So back to how much to add per meal. So if we're looking for something like 120 calories to 200 calories per day, what I would say is add a half a tablespoon of oil and then probably 2 tablespoons of beans. Yeah, and Susan, uh, Pam is working on she Pam is working on a rotation and elimination diet, and so based on the Glacier Peaks test, and so what she has found is, or what she's doing is using 3 specific beans per batch. So we're going to keep those, and I can't remember what they were, but she's going to keep those the same as to whatever she's feeding on a regular day, if that makes any sense. So she's got a protein, a brassica, regular veggie, and then a bean added into each of the batches. And then those are divvied up into the 24-hour portions. Yep. I would say a half a tablespoon per meal. And that, so if you're doing a half a tablespoon of oil, that's going to be 60 calories. And then I would add in 2 tablespoons of beans. A cup of beans is somewhere around 100, no, sorry, 240 calories. So try that and see how it goes. If you find he's gaining too much weight, then turn the volume down on the oil first. So start there and then kind of see how that works out. Yeah, I mean beans are great. I'm if I could eat more of them, and actually I can, thankfully, um, I would eat more of them because they're a great source of protein. It's a slow burn carbohydrate, meaning that it is a carbohydrate, so you get some of those. You definitely get the fiber benefit from beans, but because of the fiber, the sugar that can be produced um, from the carbohydrate source in the bean doesn't hit the system all at once. So it gets delayed throughout the day and you absorb it slowly from the GI tract. And yeah, I think for small dogs, I would because we had, especially with kidney beans, the shells are sort of thick. And so they were coming out whole for a lot of dogs. So I would start with things like lentils because they are the easiest to digest. And kind of work your way up from there. And I would definitely, add them to the batch and puree them up. But poor Mr. Bear, I mean, Bettina went through this whole routine where they essentially dug up the backyard and concreted it in so he couldn't dig down and eat rocks. So poor buddy. So I wonder why he's eating this kind of stuff again. And maybe Anya can get you some help. And Bettina, if you're there, I did send you a response back on the tissue mineral analysis. So I think you were maybe a little busy last week. Yeah, exacto. Mr. Willie. He's definitely on the food patrol, I'm sure. And so great to see that he's doing well. And then I think this is the interesting thing. I think you're sort of left with a lot of questions. Um, I think the Palladia, my instinct is that the Palladia is working. Um, and that, all of the other symptoms you were describing with the tongue, with the feet, those are, you know, side effects from the chemotherapy cleaning out. Looks like a lot of the petechia are healing here. Less, they're sort of whiter here than the rest of the tongue. So I think, Willie is just an amazing guy. And it's tough. I mean, there's so much stuff out there in terms of supplements that's not correct. Um, and I think really with the doxorubicin, it may be one of these deals where you can't really speed it up because Willie has um, so many things on board that anything that's would detox him may actually create more problems than they solve. If it looks like these are the ones on his tongue are resolving, hopefully the one on his feet are as well. And if that's the case, I would just kind of let things run their course because, you know, yeah, exactly. Uh, I don't think you have a lot of room for error. As far as if you do a big detox program, you may detox more than he can handle. So it's interesting about oncologists. Either they're really on board for alternative medicine or they're really away from it. And I think it's more the more years you have in practice, the more you see that what's supposed to work doesn't work necessarily. And so I would check this, I would just give him some time. He's a very he's a very handsome man, and he has a great deal of love for what's going on in the animals. Yeah, and berberine will help move things too. I just take it super slow. And it's so nice that you actually got to meet him too, Jamie. That's fantastic. Um, let's see. I don't want to miss these questions. So, Susan's asking about Marty losing control of his bowel movements. Um, then she's not had laser treatment for 2 months. You know, Susan, you might reach out to Mike Daly. He used to come down to Beaufort quite a bit, and he does have a cold laser. Um, yeah, acupuncture with E-stim is definitely going to help. CBD if you're not using it, and you're in Beaufort. That's good to hear she does acupuncture. But I think CBD will help quite a bit. And then the other thing I would frankly look at is a CC loop because that's something you can do at home. If you're not familiar with those, we do have them in the store. We finally got ours for Pepe, and that just within a couple of treatments, he's moving a lot better. So Pep is 12 and has done crazy cat things through his life. And so he's really, he's getting older and he's got arthritis. He's already taking Arthur Ease Gold and some other things to help with it. But this definitely made a big change for him as far as improving his mobility. Let's see. Let me make sure I've got all these questions covered here. Let's see. We went through that. And yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you're already doing it. So I think May, what was your question about? Oh, the freeze-dried turkey treat. Yeah, no, if it's got a bunch of, let me see, where is that? Yeah, for spirit. So the ingredients were mixed tocopherols, rosemary extract, and green tea. Um, that should be okay to use. And again, you can do so much for the just dehydrating proteins on your old. It's a pain in the butt, but the tocopherols are in there again for freshness. So is the rosemary. Rosemary can be a little bit of an irritant, and so at this point you have 2 or 3 weeks under your belt, so to speak. So anything that you add in that's a problem will make itself clear pretty quickly. Um, so let me pop back to Susan's question so I get that answered quickly. But Susan, I would definitely look at things like a CC loop if you're using CBD already, acupuncture, and then acupuncture in particular, there's spots, 2 points, I should say, to the side of the base of the tail. So let's say this finger is the tail. There are 2 points right at that fold, and you can, I would stimulate those in practice. You can do this with your fingers, so that would help kind of get the rectal tone there. The other thing you can do if the incontinence is more um, like because he hasn't gone is the ice cube trick. And so literally what that is you take him outside with an ice cube, rub the ice cube around the rectum to help stimulate it, and then kind of toss it. A lot of times that cold causes a contraction, and so it reminds the brain that, oh yeah, my colon is full of poop and I need to go. So I would try that out, um, and see if that's helpful. Sometimes, if is he able to sort of know that he needs to go to the bathroom, or he is constantly just sort of stools coming out and he's unable to really do much? Oh, good. Today for laser and acupuncture. But ask about those things, and there are those nice points. But so is he having problems knowing that he needs to go, or or is he able to control his stool to any degree? I think that's helpful too. And Jamie, that's a good point. Green tea is a really great um, option. So yeah, so Susan, what I would do is make it a point to sort of stimulate the rectum with the ice cube on the times when normally he would need to go. So like he first thing in the morning when he gets up, outside ice on the rectum, hopefully he actually takes care of business outside. And that then after breakfast, 10, 15 minutes, ice on the rectum, that kind of stuff. And then hopefully what's going to happen is that his brain is going to start to get the message. And it doesn't sound like he knows what's going on. But we can help kind of reinforce in the body when things are supposed to start happening. And then again, hopefully the acupuncture and laser will help quite a bit. Let's see if I missed anything else. And I think that's it. Have you all got any other questions I haven't answered for you today? There's been a lot of stuff going on with everybody's pets. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Susan, that's kind of typical, especially for older dogs that have sort of stool incontinence because their neurologic system is sort of breaking down or not performing as well as it used to be. You know, first thing in the morning, you want to get him outside, stimulate the rectum, and see if you can kind of beat when his body's like, okay, I've had it. And then last thing at night, so go back outside, you know, stimulate the rectum and see if we can get him to um, dump his goodies. Glad to hear Mr. Willie is happy and healthy. So that's what I have for you this week. Until next week, remember to give everybody a big hug and a kiss for me. We've got some interesting content coming up. I started my experiment with Hayo and Pepe with Assisi loops with a calmer loop for Hayo, and actually we're going to use that for Pepe as well because he has thunderstorm phobia and the fireworks are not helping him much either. And then again for pain control for Pep too. So until next week, give everybody a big hug and I'll see you soon.